G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole? I have nothing really funny or witty to say, so I just want you to enjoy today's episode, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for a good time. That's what she said. Thank you. Posted by user Hot Kangaroo 1847. Titled, Am I the A-hole for not giving a disabled man my seat? So I, 22 female, ride the bus to and from work because I don't have any other modes of transportation. Every few days, I am joined by a man who has some sort of disability. I don't know specifics, but there's something wrong with his legs, and he walks with a very obvious limp and uses a cane. Sometimes there's a seat for him, sometimes there's not. A few days ago, my sister, 18 female, was with me, and the guy came on. All of the seats were full, and he had to stay standing. My sister whispered that nobody was giving their seats up, and I mentioned that I had seen him before, and how nobody usually offered him a seat. My sister gave me a weird look and said, "Not even you?" And I was honest. I had never offered him my seat because I am simply not obligated to help some stranger, and that he could just get a taxi if it hurt him so much to stand. My sister got all pissed off at me, but wouldn't start a scene on the bus, so she just stood up and told this guy to go ahead and have her seat. He thanked her and sat down, which put me in an awkward position, sitting next to him. So I got angry at her, and I called her out when we got off at our stop, and she refused to listen and just said that my empathy was really lackluster, and that it didn't matter if I was obligated or not, it was just basic human decency. I really don't think that I'm such an a-hole for not giving this random guy my seat, but she's angry about it, so I guess that something must be wrong. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. So I guess that giving the guy my seat is basic human decency, and that I was an a-hole for not giving up my seat for a man who has visible trouble walking. Well, yeah, I kind of think it is basic human decency to give up your seat for someone who has visible trouble walking. How is that not a no-brainer for you here? Especially given that your 18-year-old sister, who's 4 years younger than you, has more decency than you to give up her seat. Sure, you're not obligated to help some stranger, but telling him he could just get a taxi if it hurts so much to stand? That's just such a dick-headed thing to say. In general, no, you're not always obligated to help people, but on public transport, you are obligated to give up your seat for them because do you want them to continue suffering? Especially if you're sitting in seats that are usually designated for sick, disabled, or pregnant people. You're just objectively being a terrible person in this situation, and there's no excuse for it. You're the a-hole. Now in the comments, Aborealian says, "You're the a-hole. It's common decency to offer your seat to people who struggle physically. Most buses even have placards indicating that this should be done, but not all because it's an unspoken rule. If you don't have physical issues, you're the a-hole for making someone less able-bodied than you stand and try to ride a bus standing up. Why do you need the entire internet to tell you what your sister already told you? OP's lack of common decency baffles me. Talking about obligation, get the hell out of here. Learn some kindness and maybe your sister won't be embarrassed by you. Then again, they were on a bus filled with a-holes, rather fitting for OP to be there. Your new family and kinship, OP. Who the F raised these people? This subreddit frequently trots out, you don't have to do nothing for no one. Not disabled people, not your kids or spouse, no one has the right to make you do anything. You owe them literally nothing, not even the most basic, be a frickin' adult tasks. There's a reason that meta post from the other year was made? OP, as much of a heel as he is, rightfully expected to be lauded here, because that's how people here act. Exactly. As I've said before, this sub's favorite phrase is no obligation. No, you had no obligation to watch your sister's kids while she ran to the hospital on short notice because her husband was in a car accident. Not your kids, not your problem, you don't owe them anything. She should have thought ahead, God. Intrepidbag 7007 says, yes, you're the a-hole. As you stated, you use the bus because it is your only means of transportation, yet you assume the man has the means to just use a taxi. You and everyone on that bus who have made his day harder because of a lack of empathy are the a-holes. Would it hurt you to show some compassion and decency? And she assumes he can afford a taxi, but she herself doesn't take her own advice. I'm honestly dumbfounded that OP is 22 and doesn't understand this. I think by the age of 11, anybody should understand common courtesy like this. And you're the a-hole. I truly hope you never are in a situation where someone who's not obligated to help you makes the same decisions you do. Glad your sister has some decency. Our next post is by user Worried About Home, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my mum I never intended to come back to the US after visiting my dad? So my name is Daisy, and I am 19, female. My dad is Australian, and my mum is American. I have dual citizenship. I've never really liked living with my mum. I've talked to my dad about moving to Australia for years. He told me that when I'm 18, I can move in at any time, and he would help me get everything worked out, and he kept his word. In 2019, I shipped a lot of my belongings, packed bags, took my needed paperwork, and left for the summer, and I never came back. I told my mum that I was visiting longer and made excuses, but I never intended to come back. With everything that happened in December 2019, I told my mum I could not leave. I guess I didn't have the guts to explain almost 7 years of bullcrap. Dad left when I was 12. She remarried 3 months later, and suddenly I had a stepbrother that she seemed to favor more. It just felt like I was a guest in their home. I finally had the talk with my mum, and she called me an a-hole for it. I explained to her that I didn't intend to come back. I had everything I wanted with me in Australia. She said, what about paperwork? I explained I took everything when I turned 18 and graduated high school. I said that I didn't intend to go to college when this was over, and I had applied to uni here in Australia. I was happy. Dad said he would support me for a few years, and I was not going to be keeping my US citizenship. She started crying and asked if I hated her. I asked her why she never showed me that I was more important than her new marriage, and that while she was my mum, I didn't really know how to forgive her for feeling alienated. I said I didn't want to talk for a while, and hung up. Now I feel like an a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I've been lying to her for a while, and pretty much just unloaded on her about how I feel. I feel like she didn't see it coming and is now hurting, but I honestly cannot stand the idea of returning to the US and being a part of her happy little family. As an Aussie myself, I say welcome to the country. I hope you enjoy your stay. I can definitely see how you lying to her about it would have really hurt her there because, you kind of made it clear to her that you were just coming over for a holiday, and then you extended it, and then you had all of last year and this year as another excuse not to come. And to be fair, I would probably do the same myself because I avoid conflict like there is no tomorrow. And I guess to most people, that's an irredeemable thing. You don't just continually lie about something like that. In this situation though, I feel like it's an acceptable lie. I feel like you're not an a-hole for continually dragging it out like that. The reason behind it is solid, and living here is better for you because you're actually wanted by your father. The fact that she remarried 3 months after leaving your father, that is an incredibly short time span. I can get if your mum and dad were in the process of divorce for like a year or two, and in that time she was culminating a relationship with this guy, and then the marriage happened then. But 3 months is nothing. We started this year 4 months ago. I still feel like January was yesterday. The fact that she just moved on with that other family so quickly, and it seems like you were still hurting and grieving from the divorce, just really tells me that you weren't a priority in your mother's life, and you continue not to be a priority. I can't imagine how hard it would be for you to get out of the country, and how hard it would be dealing with her if you had told her about your plans. The fact that you kept her in the dark about it tells me that she's the kind of person that would intentionally take your documents and not let you have them. So that would really jeopardize you living in Australia. Ultimately, to a lot of people, I can see why you would be an a-hole in this situation, because they're like, you can't just lie about that, you kept your mother in the dark. But I think it's acceptable, and I think you're not the a-hole in this situation. Now in the comments, BloodRose80 says, not the a-hole. For everyone saying you're the a-hole or everyone sucks here, they're wrong. Your mother chose to get married 3 months after divorcing your dad. That's not sane. She then basically picks her new husband and stepson over her own daughter. She chose to be entirely selfish and put her needs over being a good mom. She sounds like someone with narcissistic tendencies. I don't blame you for moving away. Also, you're an adult and can choose where you want to live. Your dad seems a lot more supportive. You didn't owe your mom any conversation because she clearly wouldn't have listened and would have sabotaged you leaving. To all the other posters, do you not see the abuse her mother put her through? Like, it was bad enough she felt she needed to escape. I know what that's like, and it's doubtful that some of these posters do. You owe your mother nothing at all. And OP replies, thank you for understanding. It was hard to explain to people I knew, unless they had seen or been to my house. Most of the time, people thought my mom must be great because she didn't care where I went. But it was really lonely, and I felt like no one cared, outside of my dad and friend group. Not the a-hole. It sounds like you're in a difficult position, and you felt really hurt by your mom. Ideally, you would have told her sooner, once you were over here in Australia, but I think you did your best given your age and how you were feeling. It's pretty telling that she didn't know how upset you were, and didn't even notice that you shipped all your important stuff over here. Welcome to Australia, mate. Also pretty telling that she didn't say, I'm so sorry for not noticing, but instead asked, do you hate me? Classic manipulative and narcissistic tactic. Not the a-hole. On another note, don't relinquish your US citizenship if you don't have to. With all the political upheavals going on in the world, it's better to keep your options open. In one of the greatest ironies I've seen in the past few years, Brexit champion Nigel Farage has both German and British citizenship. Our next post is by user Pringles Bandit, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend it's his fault he got into an accident? So, my boyfriend is a very aggressive driver. Whenever we're on the road, he's always bragging about how he's able to outmaneuver the traffic ahead, and just how does he achieve this? By driving very erratically and cutting in front of other drivers, or swerving across 4 lanes at once without signaling, or taking random, unnecessary, bumpy, shortcut roads that save 2 minutes at most. There's been so many close calls, especially at night, that I prefer to just shut my eyes and grip the door handle for most of the journey, because his driving makes me so anxious. It's worth noting that he doesn't necessarily speed, so the close calls would have been minor scrapes due to him cutting in people's lanes if they had happened. So he's not putting our lives in danger, just the car at risk of some very avoidable fender benders. I've complained about it so many times, and he says that the way he drives is necessary because there's always crazy traffic. So it's either drive like that or crawl. So tonight he was driving and there was some traffic as usual, but our turn was coming up on the right, so I expected him to just wait in the lane that we were in. But instead, he swerved across a few lanes just to inch a little further a little quicker, and then swerved back into the lane that we were supposed to be in to make the turn, all in the space of a few minutes. While doing this, another car bumped into him and chipped the paint on his car, but there was no dent. He was livid and blaming the driver, but the driver wasn't having it since he was clearly at fault. He expected me to back him up, but I didn't say a word the whole time because I was very irritated myself. I had told him to just be patient, but as usual, he didn't listen. I waited in the car while he settled with the other driver, and when he got back, he was upset with me for not having his back. I told him that the other driver wasn't at fault and he should have just waited. He said that the only reason we were out tonight was because I wanted to pick something up, so I was being extremely ungrateful since he was doing me a favor, and this wouldn't have happened if we weren't on the road tonight because of me. To which I said, it wouldn't have happened if you weren't driving like an effing lunatic. We rode back home in silence, and he hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the a-hole? This is like a mix-up of judgments here. I mean, it's very easy to give it a everyone sucks here judgment, but to answer your question in this one, am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend it's his fault he got into a car accident? No, you're not the a-hole for telling him that. He's an a-hole in this situation for saying it's your fault that he got into it. He's the crazy, erratic driver, and he's the one putting everyone on the road's lives in danger. This honestly sounds like such a toxic relationship, and it's easy for people to point fingers and say, hey, you shouldn't be enabling this guy, you shouldn't be in the car with him if he's going to drive crazily like this. But I guess it's not always as simple as saying, don't let him drive on the road like that, don't get in the car with him, break up with him, etc, etc, etc. It's not always an easy answer in these situations, because we don't always know the complete relationship dynamic. It could be better or worse than what's being portrayed in the post here. It really is hard to be stuck in toxic relationships like this and to have a backbone, but I still say there is blame for you not stopping him from driving crazily like this. So I kind of have to give a judgment of everyone sucks here, just for what I'm seeing in this post. Now, in the comments, Don't Take My Noise says, quote, he isn't putting lives in danger, end quote. He absolutely effing is. He's putting the lives of every single person on the road, including pedestrians on the sidewalk, in danger. And edit, I didn't give judgment on this. OP, everyone sucks here for not chewing his ass out the first time you saw him drive like this. Grow a backbone. Info. You're still dating this guy, why exactly? Look at her post history. They've only been together 6 months, and already she seems to be constantly annoyed with him, and he's putting her in danger every time he drives. Just, why? People need to stop dating people they don't like, yeesh. Not the a-hole for not backing him, you're the a-hole for attempting to justify and minimize his dangerous and deadly actions. He will kill or severely injure another person or himself, destroying them and their families' lives. He doesn't need to exceed the speed limit to kill someone else, himself, or you. Someone will die eventually. It's just lucky that no one has yet. And OP replies, fair enough. I guess I never considered the possibility of serious injury because I always thought that you had to be speeding to crash. But I now understand the danger he poses to myself and other people. We'll definitely have a serious conversation with him. Not the a-hole. Is he aggressive in other areas of the relationship? This behavior is quite concerning. Do you drive? I wouldn't want to be in the car with someone who drives like this. And OP replies, no, he's not aggressive in the relationship. He's actually the opposite. Very mild-mannered and non-confrontational. I don't know if this is road rage as much as it is him getting a thrill out of driving like this and beating the traffic and outsmarting other drivers, which are his words. He's usually a very kind and considerate person, but when it comes to driving, doesn't see how his actions on the road could possibly hurt someone since it hasn't yet. I'm sorry, but I really think you're in denial here. You say he's mild-mannered and his driving isn't about aggression or road rage, but he literally got into a fight with another driver about an accident that he caused while you watched, then was mad at you for not backing him up? There's no way that this aggression and arrogance and recklessness will not manifest in other ways in your relationship. What do you guys think of this one? Because it really does sound like we're not getting the full story, and this is really messed up. And our next post is by user OwnButterfly7465, titled, Am I the a-hole for not changing my baby's name again after I changed it for my sister once already? All names are fake. So I have a 9-year-old daughter and another one on the way. I had 2 grandmothers, Annie and Rose. I named my oldest Annabelle after Nanny Annie, whose full name was also Annabelle. I did not name her after Nana Rose, as at the time she was born, Nana Rose was still with us. When I found out I was pregnant with a second, I decided to name her after Nana Rose, who passed in 2017. My sister, Lucy, got pregnant about 5 months before me. She says that she wants to name her baby Rose after Nana Rose. I say our kids can share the name, and she says that I already have Annabelle, and I could have named her Annabelle Rose or something, but passed up the chance, so I can't also have Rose. I figure this is not the hill to die on, so I say I'll look for something else, but reserve the right to use Rose. I then crack open a baby book, and a few entries after Rose is Rosalie. It's perfect. It honors Nana Rose, doesn't piss off Lucy, and my boyfriend loves it. Lucy finds out the new name and says it's lovely and she approves, which annoys me, but I say nothing. This all takes place in the 8th month of her pregnancy, 3rd month of mine, so I don't even know the gender yet, and this is all hypothetical. A couple weeks later, Lucy gives birth. A few days ago, about a month after birth, she announces that her daughter's name is Rosalie. At this point, I'm really annoyed, because I went to great lengths to leave the name Rose available, and she's nicked my choice. Mum calls me to say she knew what Lucy was planning, and she hopes I'm not upset because this means I can now name my incoming daughter Rose. Except, I'm now attached to Rosalie. I tell my mum that I'm sticking with Rosalie. She says Lucy has Rosalie, and I say there's going to be 2 Rosalies in the family. She says this is impractical, as both Rosalies will have the same surname. Sister is a single mum, boyfriend is taking my name. And they will likely be in the same school and year group, so this will cause all manner of issues. I say if it's going to be an issue, then I'll deal with it if and when it comes up. Lucy then calls me, calling me an inconsiderate prick, and says I'm being petty, that I don't have a monopoly on the name, and that she can name her kid what she likes. I said that's all true, so by the same logic, I can use Rosalie. She says there can't be 2 Rosalies, as it'll cause problems. And I say that she's the one who has a problem with it, so she can change her kid's name or deal with it. She again called me an inconsiderate, spiteful ass, and hung up. Mum, Dad, and our brother all side with Lucy. Am I the a-hole? And edit, I appreciate the alternate name suggestions that stem from Rosalie, and I do find reading them interesting, but I did say that all names are fake. So, in the nicest way possible, Rosalie-inspired names aren't really helping me, lol. Also, it has been confirmed I'm having a girl. I'm just picturing the house party scene from The Office where Michael's like, you can't just have me have the vasectomy and then reversal and then vasectomy and the reversal again. Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. This is goddamn frustrating, and I would be pissed off if I was OP in this situation. Like, genuinely, who does this think she is? Taking the name, saying you have to change it. Okay, I'll change it. I take this one, and then you take that name too, and you say you have to change it again. Like, piss off, man. Pick a name. Change your kid's name. I've already changed it for you once. You can't just keep stealing names and then saying they have to change it because the names are going to be the exact same in school. And they knew they could get away with this because they were having their baby first. But I can definitely see this sister being the genuine level of crazy of having her baby second, still wanting the name, and then asking that OP change the name because, you know, that's the realm of insanity that we're leaping into here. I don't get why they have to insist the kids go to the same district, same school. That seems to be where the crux of the issue is. And screw this sister for continually stealing names and imposing that on OP. I genuinely think the best solution here is to change the sister's kid's name back to Rose. OP has been more than accommodating in this situation. The sister is being a complete ass. Screw her. OP is not the a-hole. Now in the comments, not the a-hole, but honestly, your first mistake was giving in and negotiating with your emotional terrorist sister. And OP replies, I should have never entertained it, but I just figured there would be better hills to die on, and it could be tricky to have cousins with the same name anyway. Your sister is an a-hole, as is your mother for enabling her. That being said, these so-called issues of sharing a name aren't real because you can just make sure to use another middle name that you like that doesn't match Rosalie 1. This is not accurate. I know from experience. I have a cousin with the same name, but it's spelled different, and we're different ages and have different middle names. It's caused a bunch of issues from credit reports. They take years to get things corrected. We didn't even live in the same province when they mixed us up. To deliveries going to the wrong place, despite the address and phone numbers being completely different. So many unnecessary things I've had to deal with because of this double name thing. The sister is a total a-hole, but OP is potentially causing a lot of annoyance to her own kid by using the same name. And with the ages so close, it'll be even worse for them. This has the potential to piss off her kid. I would be in this situation. I always hated sharing my name, for the annoying reasons, but also because it felt like it took away from my individuality and uniqueness. Even just the annoyance of family events when it was always, which one, when we heard our names, was mildly annoying. Mildly compared to the other stuff, but annoying nonetheless. Not the a-hole, but I wish people would stop telling others what names they choose. Or at least purposefully tell them names you think are ugly or that you would never call your kids. That way you can laugh yourself into a coma when your relative steals that name. And if you go that way, make sure the fake names are plausible. For instance, my fake baby names are Seven, a reference to both Seinfeld and Star Trek Voyager, and Herbert, main characters in my favorite movie series, or Herbert the Pervert.
You like popsicles? Well, you need to come down to the cellar. I got a whole box full of popsicles for you.
Don't pull something out of thin air. And Golden Nebulas says, everyone sucks here. You and your sister are acting like children. I find it hard to believe that you're all adults having kids. It's odd. Every time I read posts like this, it always seems like the actual children involved are an afterthought. My mother started a naming trend with me and my family, and my aunt took it and ran. I always felt bad for my cousins because I was the eldest and first, so everything they did was after me, and I was always brought up in school and sports when teachers and coaches connected the dots. It's always more than a name. Yes, this is such a good point. The situation is more complex than whether OP is the a-hole or not. She needs to put her daughter first. Agree, everyone sucks here, leaning toward more you're the a-hole. So rude to try to nick both grandma's names, fake changing the name. The sister is further along than she is. She doesn't even know the gender, and she's trying to corner the market. And hate the way this is written to manipulate the results. Also, I was reading how horrible they both come across, and waiting for the mum to be involved. And there it was. Probably been playing them for years. I reserve the right to use the name? Sister sounds like a pain, but OP sounds entitled. What better way to honor your dead relatives than by disrespecting your living ones? Alright guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you need a good laugh, please do check out my second channel, Markee 2, links down in the description below, or it's going to appear somewhere on the screen here at the end, little bubble with my face on it. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon and channel members. Your faces are surrounding me right now, and I love to have you guys with me, and down in the comment sections of each and every video, and just knowing that you're always there to support me. It's a humbling and lovely feeling. And rest assured, I do see you, and I do notice your support, and I thank you every day for being here and helping me along this journey. Not much else to say besides that, guys. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I do hope that you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I will see you in the next video, and thank you again. Bye.